Token Deathmage here. We are once again checking out Pokemon Elite Redux. Elite Redux is the incredible ROM hack developed by a talented team headed by one James Lyons. They've reworked old Pokemon, giving them new types where appropriate, as well as new moves and abilities. There are new evolutions for some Pokemon, and new regional variants called Redux forms. The big draw of the hack is the innate system, where every Mon has 4 abilities.
After a couple ace runs, I'm back on Elite Morcaps, my favorite way to play, with permanent Mega Evolution, telling May that I want a Paldea starter, running up to find her dad, taking a Fuecoco, Fire Fanging a Zigzagoon to rescue him, then getting my National Dex. I evolve my Fuecoco into a silly hat boy, heading over to the Pokemon Center, getting my Dex Nav, and all the competitive items. Evolving my Roly-Coly, I head over to challenge May, Anthracite, setting up Stealth Rocks and Hot Coals, getting taken down to a Focus Sash, getting a Speed Boost, going for a Hidden Power, but barely doing any damage. Not quite enough. So I bring Caliente out, doing a little bit of Rocky Helmet damage. And finally, I take the Mudkip out with a Play Rough from my Ponyta. Goomy comes in, getting burned on the Hot Coals, taking Ponyta down to 1 with a Water Pulse. I go for a Play Rough, almost taking it out. It finishes my horse, and I go into Darmanitan, winning the hardest May battle I've ever had. Moving on to Calvin, I'm not exactly confident if he's going to a full team of 6, while I still only have 5. Losing his Tink right away to a Blaze Kick, he goes a Lowland Diglett, going for a Rock Slide, but my Ponyta survives, taking his Diglett out with a Double Kick, as he brings a Seal out, who gets hit with a Wild Charge, taking Ponyta down with a Flip Turn, going into his Poochyena. So I go Sizzlepeed and Leech Life, and his Seal comes back around. I go for a Secret Power, surviving a Surf, but going down to a second, going into Carkol, almost bringing it down, getting a Speed Boost, going down to my Focus Sash, finishing the Seal with Earth Power. Tandemaus comes in, getting burned on entry from the Hot Coals, and I swap into Caliente, taking advantage of my Rocky Helmet to whittle away the multi-hitter. Going for Curse, Shedinja comes out next, and Final Gambits, taking itself out, clearing Calvin out of the way so that I can go help this guy in the woods, who's being attacked by an Aqua Grunt, so I have to play hero. Bringing out Venus the Salazzle against his Impidimp, getting crazy special attack buffs, but it has a Focus Sash, so it gets a Swagger off on me. He goes Corphish next, and a Secret Power does half to it before it takes my Salazzle down, and I go Phoenix. The Aqua guy brings out a Skrelp, who manages to not kill with a Hydro Pump, getting burned before taking my Vulpix out with a Sludge Wave. So I go Darm, almost taking it down with a Zen Headbutt, being taken out by a Hydro Pump, going back to Phoenix, and taking Flight, taking down the Skrelp, going into Caliente on a Carvanha. I Will-O-Wisp it to cripple its attack, and it Aqua Fangs, hurting itself on my Rocky Helmet as I rest up. It goes for another Aqua Fang, being taken out by a Ghost-type Snore. The Aqua guy then goes into a Marini, who takes a little bit from a Snore before Hydro Pumping, almost taking Caliente down before finishing him with a Hidden Power. So I go Stallion and Wild Charge. My second Wild Charge takes Marini down, but I get poisoned in the process, and the Aqua guy goes Dreepy, killing my Ponyta with its Focus Sash. So I go into Phoenix and take Flight again, saving the Devon guy, who gives me an XP share. In Rustboro, I square off against the first gym leader, Rock-type Ace Roxanne, leads with a Sandygast, getting knocked off by the goat Isagi. Second knockoff kicks the same castle over, and Rox goes into an Onix, loses its Eviolite before squashing Raboot. So I go Kit, setting up the Sun, going for a Solar Beam, obliterating the Onix. She brings out her Gligar next, and I hard swap Carkol. The Gligar goes for a Swords Dance, and I Hidden Power Ice, doing massive damage, then hard swapping Darumaka as she hard swaps into her Redux Larian. I go for Miracle Eye, converting types only for me, so that my Fire Punch is 4 times effective on the Rock Water type, taking down her biggest threat as she goes back around to Gligar, who also gets Fire Punched, going into Pseudo Wudo, taking a bunch from a Double Lariat, missing its attack, almost being taken out by a second, before Stone Edging my Darumaka. A Flamethrower from Caliente burns her tree down, and she goes Cacturn, knocking off my Rocky Helmet for being flambéed, earning me my first gym badge. With 1 badge, I'm now a qualified crime fighter, heading over to this cave to get some stolen stuff back from an Aqua guy, who leads with a Dracloak against my Salazzle, getting Dark Pulse, It counters with a Dragon Claw, taking Venus down. So I go into Carkol, who survives a Dragon Claw, and counters with a Hidden Power Ice. Inkler comes out, and Crab hammers Anthracite. So I go Kit to set up the Sun and weaken further water attacks. Solar Beaming, almost taking the Crab out, but it just barely hangs on, so I go Popcorn, tanking a Guillotine and going for a Popping Mayhem. Muck comes out next, hitting a First Impressions, and then a Shadow Sneak, getting burned by a Popping Mayhem, before being taken out by a Bullet Seed. Mask of Rain comes in next, going for a Bug Buzz, getting destroyed by a Peck. Aqua Grunt then sends out a Clodsire, who gets hit by a Bullet Seed, before a Sludge ends Popcorn's Reign of Terror. So I go Stallion, and High Horsepower, sending the Aqua guy into his last Mon, Carvana, who gets high horsepowered as well, forcing him to return the Devon parts, and this old guy's bird. I way over to Dewford to deliver a letter for Stephen Stone's dad. I run into May, who wants to have a little tussle, leading with her Swellow. Going for a Boom Burst into my incredibly tanky Ninetales, who counters with a Fire-type Energy Wave, before being taken out by a Hurricane. So I go Isagi, and Sucker Punch to finish off the wounded bird. Serena comes in, missing a triple axle, getting Blaze Kicked, as May goes into her Golett, who gets Sucker Punched, going for a Stomping Tantrum, but Isagi survives, critting a second Sucker Punch before being taken out, leaving the Golett wide open for Orang. Redux Prinplup comes out, so I hard swap Stallion, tanking a Chilling Water, going for a High Horsepower. May then brings out her Sliggoo, who gets high horsepower too, going down to half, before Muddy Watering, so I go Popcorn and peck away. May's last Mon is Marshtomp, and it goes for a Rock Slide, but Flea tanks two of them, and a Bullet Seed pokes holes in it. I head over to Mr. Brinies, and we take to the open seas. After a quick battle with Stephen Stone, I grab the next gym leader Brawly, and tell him it's time to fight. And fight he does, as that is his specialty, stepping into the ring, leading with a Redux Noivern, who Spirit Shackles my Popcorn. I bulk up, tanking a second one, going for a Bullet Seed. Dual Lumber comes out next, being Bullet Seeded too, but it's surprisingly sturdy, going for a Thunder Punch, which Flea survives, almost taking the Dual Lumber down, so I go Isagi and Zen Headbutt. Redux Bisharp comes out next, so I swap Caliente, being hit by a Seismic Blade, and Will-O-Wisp away, surviving a second one and doing a bit of Rocky Helmet Chip, resting up to heal. My stall strats Widow Bisharp down, and Brawly goes into a Flamigo next, so I go Phoenix and Wing Attack, Wing Attacking a Hitmonchan too, as he goes Lucario, Thunder Punching my bird, so I bring Isagi back out, and Blaze Kick, melting his Steel type and getting my Knuckle Badge. Following Brawly's defeat with a bunch of new toys on my team, I head on over to Slateport where Team Aqua is making trouble. First guy leads with a Gloom, against my Redux Empoleon, sets up a nasty plot, going for a Flamethrower. Low Kicks comes out next, but my Empoleon is faster thanks to its Thermal Slide ability, and I defeat the first Aqua Grunt no problem. The second guy leads with a Poliwrath, so I hard swap Misty, expecting a water attack, but it Drain Punches, a big hole right through Reuniclus. So I go Popcorn and start bulking up. He flip turns out into a Swalot, resisting my Bullet Seed, so I try a Popping Mayhem instead, during its parry, but getting a burn. Acid does a bit of damage, but Flea hangs on, surviving a Drain Punch from the Poliwrath who comes back out and popping it with a Bullet Seed. Their leader Archie comes in then, to try to give me a real challenge, leading with a Crobat, who lowers weird special attacks, so I hard swap into Optimus, the Redux Hariyama. The Fire Steel Ground triple type heat crashes, massive damage to the Crobat, and a Redux Gabite that hard swaps in. I swap Popcorn, sacrificing it to a Liquidation to get a clean switch to Asagi and Sucker Punch. Then Crobat comes back, going for a Cross Poison, and Pyroballed. Archie then sends out a Sharpedo, who gets jump kicked, but has a Focus Sash, crunching Isagi, and healing a little bit of the damage back. So I go into Optimus again, an Aquafang, and Body Pressing, bringing the Shark down, as Archie goes Electros, who Water Pulses, blowing up my robot, so I go Weird again. Nasty plotting, surviving a Parabolic Charge, and going for a Flamethrower. Delmise comes out next, and this thing is absolutely cooked, sending Archie into his Sliggoo, who Body Presses Weird, so I sent out Altaria, going for a Lava Plume, getting a burn, being Toxic, but at this point in the match it's too late. and a second lava plume finishes the Sliggoo. Send an Archie skedaddling, so I can give Stern the Devon parts. After that, I make my way towards Mauville, in pursuit of my next badge, but run into May. She leads with her Swellow, boom bursting into Anthracite doing absolutely nothing, get one-shotted by a Pebble Shower, so she tries her Golurk next. And I hard swap Phoenix, making her miss her Earthquake, going for a Flying Gem Acrobatics. The Golurk is a massive punch, destroying my bird, so I go weird, and freeze dry the ground type. Serena comes out next, so I hard swap Popcorn, surviving a triple kick, going for a peck. Goodra comes out next, so I hard swap Alphabet, getting hit by a Sludge Bomb, and get Dragon Pulse going for Decorate. Poison Heal keeps the Goodra healthy. It takes down Tharia, so I go weird again, hitting a freeze dry, taking the dragon down. May brings out a Redux Empoleon of her own, going for a Fire Blast, so I go Colossal, getting a speed boost, hitting a Pebble Shower, hit Fire Blast, I Pebble Shower again. May then goes into her Swampert, Torrent Fistin, bringing Anthracite down. I bring in Flea, surviving a Rock Slide but getting flinched, ruining my Bullet Seed plan, leaving Isagi to clean up the match. Going for a Pyro Ball, destroying May's Swampert, despite being not very effective, proving he is in fact the GOAT. May out of the way, there's one last thing in my way before a third gym, and that's Wally here, who leads with an Obstagoon, getting Fire Blasted by Weird, going down in one hit, going into a Garchomp, getting hit by a Freeze Dry, getting obliterated as well, sending in an Armor Rouge, surviving a Hurricane, taking Weird down with Armor Cannon, so I go Isagi, and Sucker Punch, destroying the Psychic type, so Wally sends out a Redux Kingambit, which gets Pyro Balled, and he goes Roserade, faring no better. His last Pokemon is Gardevoir, so Isagi destroys with a Pyro Ball as well, but it has a Focus Sash, getting a Mystical Fire off, before being stunted on by a Zen Headbutt, getting me into the gym. The Wally out of the way, I'm ready to take on the Electric-type gym leader, Hudson, who leads with a Tapu Koko. Against my Ninetales, going for a Thunderbolt, getting Shadow Balled, almost being taken out, surviving on one and getting a speed boost. He goes for another Thunderbolt, but Kit finishes the job, sending Watson into an Electros, who Mega Evolves. So I hard swap Caliente, predicting the multi-hit move, taking advantage of my Rocky Helmet. Not learning his lesson, he goes for a Rapid River again. And I Torch Song, getting a special attack buff, putting him into a position where his next attack will take him down. And then sends out his Galvantula evolution Tyrantula, who gets Torch Songed as well, going down in one shot. So he goes Alolan Raichu, and finishes my Skeleturge with a Surf. I go Popcorn next, tanking the electric type attack, going for a Popping Mayhem. Watson then sends out a Clodifisser, taking down my Popcorn, send out Ninetales, and go for a Sun-boosted Blaze Kick with Stallion. But the Clodifisser has a Focus Sash, soaking my horse, so I have to swap out to Misty, going down to the Plasma Pulse, so I can swap back into Stallion, and finish the Clodifisser with a Blaze Kick. Watson then sends out an Iron Hands, and I had a burn, before it Drain Punches my Rapidash, so I go into Optimus, and Earthquake away, winning the Spider-Man pointing meme battle, getting me my Dynamo badge. Over at Meteor Falls, I stop to help May with a magma problem, leading with Houndoom and Pikachu against their Ninetales and Cherrim. The Pikachu immediately gets Weather Balled, and I go for a Vexing Void into the Ninetales, both of them one-shotting their targets. May sends out a Blaziken, and the Magma guys send out Houndoom Redux. I miss my attack. The Blaziken gets hidden powered, retaliating by Blaze Kicking the Houndoom, and I Vexing Void, taking down the Cherrim. Lilligant and Sagaractus come out next, taking down the Blaziken and Houndoom, so I go Alphabet and May go Sliggoo. The Magma guys double into Sliggoo, getting Searing Shotted, both of them going down, to the Sun-powered Fire-type attack, sending them into an Arcanine, whose Snarl does absolutely nothing, getting mashed by a Hydro Steam, but healing it up with Morning Sun. So I just Hydro Steam again, and it tries to Snarl, lowering my special attack, but not quite getting there. Archie then comes in, scaring the Magma Goons away, and we follow them up to Mount Chimney, where their boss Maxie is waiting to have a battle. He kicks things off with a Naganadel, which sets sticky webs, but I was prepared, leading with Weird to freeze dry, going into a Lycanroc, who also gets freeze dried, taking a bit of damage before bringing down my Penguin with Submission. So I go into Isagi, sucker punching to avoid being slowed by the webs, but not quite bringing down the Lycanroc, who head smashes. so I go into Stallion, landing a double kick because my scarf makes me still faster. Maxi then brings a camera up out, so I hard swap Phoenix, avoiding both the webs and a ground type attack, going for a flying gem boosted acrobatics. I get searing shotted, but it does about half, and I finish the camera up with a blaze kick. Maxi then brings out a high dragon, who dark pulses, bringing my bird down and getting a beast boost, so I go Stallion again, and double kick, destroying the dark type, sending Maxi into his Crobat. So I swap out an Optimus, avoiding the cross poison, going for a heavy slam. A couple of crunches fail to bring down my Transformer, and another heavy slam finishes the Crobat off, so Maxi goes into a Meganium, which Mega Evolves going for a Giga Drain, before being blaze kicked, bringing down Maxi's last Pokemon and thwarting his plans for now. Archie then comes up, thanking me. Leaving the confused evil team leaders behind, I head over to Lava Ridge Town to have a battle with the fire leader Flannery. She kicks things off with a Walking Wake against Chad, my Lazarus. He hangs on after a Dragon Pulse, going for a Dragon Dance, making him faster, and Dragon Clawing, before being taken out by a Hydro Steam. I go into Alphabet then, tanking a Hydro Steam, and hitting a Decorate. I survive a second Hydro Steam, and another Decorate brings the Wake down. Flannery then goes into a Redux Arcanine, going for a Wood Hammer, finishing off my Altaria. So I bring in Speedy the Snail, surviving an Earthquake, getting an Anger Shell boost, going for a Power Gem, taking Arcanine down. Flannery then brings in an Entei, who also gets Power Gemmed, being one-shot despite its legendary status. He then brings out a Charizard, which Mega Evolves, faring no better against Speedy's Power Gem. Ceruledge comes out next, and is also one-shotted, but has a Focus Sash, going for an Excalibur, stopping my Snail Sweep. So I bring out Anthracite, and he tanks a crit, finishing off a Ceruledge with a Pebble Shower. Flannery's last mon is a Wigglytuff, which Mega Evolves as well, hitting an Energy Wave, giving Anthracite a speed boost. I hit a couple Pebble Showers, flinching the Wigglytuff, and a third one brings it down, defeating Flannery, and earning me my 4th badge. Outside of the gym, I run into May, and Flannery comes out with some very important stuff to say that you should definitely not skip if you haven't played this part before. Like, really, I mean it. So now it's time to go to Sunhallow. So I head over to the desert, meeting up with Dad, who's in a little bit of a battle with the Team Magma guy and asked me to take over for him. The Magma guy leads with Abyss Hand, the Palisand evolution, and I lead Weird, freeze drying his ground type, but not bringing it down in one shot. Getting Earth powered, going for a Sun boosted Fire Blast next turn. He then brings out a Furfrou, which finishes my Empoleon. So I go into Arcanine, and Extreme Speed. Carbonix comes out next, and I hard swap Speedy, surviving a Draco Meteor with my Focus Sash, getting an Anchor Shell buff, then going for a Fire Blast. Almost bringing down the Rock type in one shot, and getting a burn as well, bringing Arcanine back out to finish with Extreme Speed again. Hyroar comes out next, so I hard swap Alphabet, tanking a Hyper Voice, going for a Hydro Steam, absolutely obliterating the Lion. Brambleghast comes out after that, so I go Redux Vanillux, using my Rocky Helmet to do a little bit of damage before finishing the Brambleghast off with a Blazing Torque. Mr. Rhyme comes out next, and he gets Blazing Torqued as well, but it doesn't do much, bringing my Vanillux down with a Psychic. So I go Smolder once more, this time hitting a Flare Blitz. The Magma guy leaves. Dad asks me to sneak into Team Magma's pyramid. Inside there's heavy resistance, and as me, Norman, and his friend Brandon try to formulate a plan. Team Aqua takes care of that for us, rushing in, distracting all the guards so that I can get to the top, where Maxi and Courtney are waiting for me. Admin Courtney leads with her Ninetales against my Colossal, setting up the sun for me, going for a Shadow Ball as I set Stealth Rocks. Nasty plots up, being hit by a Pebble Shower, going for another Shadow Ball trying to break my tank, but it's not enough, and a Pebble Shower brings her Fox down. Redux Houndoom comes out next, Mega Evolving and hitting her Raging Souls. So I bring out Chandra, my own Houndoom, and hit a Vexing Void on the Ghost type. Hisuian Lilligant comes out next, and since I'm choice locked, I have to swap out. I go Chaco, using his Rocky Helmet to do a little bit of damage, then going for a Burning Bulwark, making it miss its high jump kick, as well as get burned. A second jump kick takes down my Vanillux, and I go Shlee against a Bronto Nana, surviving a Draco Energy going for a peck, but it has a Citrus Berry and heals up, bringing down my Popcorn, making me go Weird, and freeze dry the Grass Dragon. He then sends out a Sandy Shocks, Ooh, I freeze dry as well, not quite one-shotting. It volt switches out, bringing it down weird, and sending in an Arcanine. So I go Alphabet, as the Arcanine Mega Evolves, hitting a wild charge against my water type, but I survive in Hydro Steam. Sandy Shocks comes back around, missing its attack and getting Hydro Steamed as well, ending Admin Courtney's last mon, as I prepare to challenge Maxie once more. But there's no need, as Team Aqua interrupts us, and Maxie runs away scared. Dad confronts Archie, and soon after, Team Aqua runs away too. Norman invites me to Petalburg, and our business here is done. And with my Mega Bracelet in hand, it's time to face Dad. He leads with his Kangaskhan, and I lead with Tor Temple, getting hit by a Fake Out, getting a Stamina buff, and doing Rocky Helmet damage. The Kangaskhan goes for a Comet Punch, taking even more Rocky Helmet damage before being taken down by a Shell Trap, sending Norman into his Ursaluna, which Mega Evolves, so I hard swap Choco, being hit by a Stomping Tantrum, lowering its speed with Gooey. I go for a Burning Bulwark, stalling at a turn and healing up with my leftovers, hitting an Icicle Crash, surviving another Stomping Tantrum, and going for a Burning Bulwark again next turn, allowing the burn to whittle it away. Bloud comes next, so I hard swap Alphabet, using my Assault Vest to survive a Boom Burst no problem, taking a second one, but hitting myself in confusion, going down to a third. So I go Sizzle Stash and hit a Coil Up Shell Lock. Persian comes out next, hitting me with Fake Out, then a Fury swipes, in an ironic turn of priority. So I bring Choco out again, going for a Burning Bulwark to burn it, then swapping into Fertile to take advantage of the Rocky Helmet against its multi-hits, causing the Persian to self-destruct. Norman then goes into his Bayonet, which scratches on entry, then Mega Evolves, going for a Fake Out, chipping itself a whole bunch. It hits a Double Edge next turn, which does nothing thanks to all my defense buffs, and a Shell Trap brings it down, sending Norman into his Bewarden, who gets yawned, before I hard swap Sunny. My Mega Hisuian Arcanine, and Flare Blitz, bringing down the bear, earning me my Balance Badge, as well as Norman's Pride. Moving on, I head east, where Steven Stone is waiting to battle me, and this is actually the second fight I'm having with him, but I forgot to record the first one. He leads with a Cleavor, and I lead Dilo, setting up the Sun, being taken down by a Stone Axe, going into Optimus, and taking a Cross Chop, back with a Heat Crash. Cleavor has 30 though, so I swap out into Redux Vanillux, and use its Rocky Helmet to finish the Cleavor off, bringing Steve into his Aggron, who Mega Evolves, so I swap Optimus again, going for a Heat Crash, but it barely does anything, getting Body Pressed in return. I just keep spamming Heat Crash and taking Body Presses until my robot hits the floor, and I go into Alphabet, hitting a Searing Shot, doing much more damage. Dracovish comes in and hits a Draconic Fangs, flinching Alphabet, so I go Choco, going for a Burning Bulwark to lower its damage, and whittling away with a Rocky Helmet while I heal up with Milk Drink, bring its speed with Gooey till I can outspeed and kill with an Icicle Crash, sending him into a Magearna, who brings Choco down. Getting a Soul Heart buff, I go Isagi and Pyro Ball. Metagross comes out next, and I Pyro Ball again. Steve then sends out an Iron Valiant, so I go Virgil, surviving a Kodo Cleave, hitting a Cut, saying goodbye to Steve. Over at the Weather Institute, Team Aqua have taken the place over, so their admin Shelly needs to be taught a lesson. She leads with a Suicune, and I lead Dilo, losing the Weather War, going for a Thunder, sending her into a Kaiosea, so I swap out into Flea, being hit by a Peck, losing a bunch of health, but doing a bunch of damage in return with a Rocky Helmet, going for a Victory Dance, and then a Bullet Seed, bringing down the Kaiosea, but Shelly has another fish in her back pocket, so I swap into Alphabet, taking nothing from its Shadow Ball, then back into Dilo to set up the Sun, surviving a Dark Pulse, hitting a Thunder, but not quite one-shotting, being taken out by the Frostbite from a Chilling Water. So I go into Smolder, and Extreme Speed. Absol comes out next, and Mega Evolves. I hard swap into Flea, sacrificing him, so that I can get out of Smolder's Choice Lock, surviving a Kodo Cleave, hitting a Raging Fury. Redux Gardevoir then comes out, and Mega Evolves, going for an Aqua Bash, taking down my dog, so I go into Misty, being hit by a Terror Locks, going for a Solar Beam. Shelly's last Pokemon is a Meowscarada, so I swap into Alphabet, tanking its Fake Out, losing my Vest to a Knockoff, going for an Air Slash but not killing. A Flower Trick takes Alphabet down, and I go Misty, trying to go Eruption, but it's faster, knocking me off, making it not kill, then taking Misty down too with Flower Trick. So I go to my Redux Empoleon and Fire Blast, clearing Team Aqua out, and saving the scientists. And the bosses just keep coming, because right outside I run into May, who wants to check my progress, leading with her Swellow against Dilo, who clears out the rain and hits a Thunder, one shot in her bird. There goes Golurk next, so I hard swap into Choco, taking more damage than I thought from a Shadow Punch, going for a Burning Bulwark. The Golurk does not get burned, and Icicle Crash almost brings it down. Sea of Fire finishes it at the end of turn, and I go Sunny against her Mega Swampert, backing out and going initially, surviving a Jet Punch, and hitting a Bullet Seed, which tears through the Swampert, so May goes Goodra. And I Victory Dance up, being hit by a Sludge Bomb, and going for a Popping Mayhem, which doesn't quite finish the Goodra, but it brings itself down. Sabrina comes out next, being hit by a Flare Blitz, taking Sunny down with a triple kick, so I go Chandra and Fire Blast. Her Redux Empoleon comes out next, but I'm choice locked into Fire Blast, sending me into Dilo, being frostbitten by the triggered Ice Beam from its ability, going for a Thunder, getting a Paralysis, so that I can win the fight. But we're not done yet, because we still got Winona, and all my homies do Winona full gym skills, so that's what we're doing, being Sunny against her Zapdos. Swapping into Choco, gooeying away on the multi-hitter, seriously sapping its speed to control its speed boost ability, burning it with a Burning Bulwark, but it's still faster, getting off another triple kick, so I go into my Snail and Shell Smash, as he triggers Anger Shell and gets obliterated by a Power Gem. Mine Shao comes out, Mega Evolving, and getting Fire Blasted. So Winona goes Thunderous, and she has the priority to stop my sweep. I go into Sunny, hitting a Rock-type Double Edge, sending her into Aerodactyl, which Mega Evolves, and outspeeds my dog, killing it with a Head Smash, so I go Dilo, hitting a Thunder, which still one-shots despite being frostbitten. It goes Belozel next, and it too gets Thundered, but it has a Focus Sash. Thankfully, it doesn't bring my Lizard down, and a second Thunder takes it out, sending her into her Moltres, which takes about half from a Thunder, before finishing Dilo with a Heat Wave. I go into Hephaestus, the Redux Tyranitar, hitting a Diamond Storm, bringing down the bird, earning me my Feather Badge. Post Winona, and making my way a few floors up Mount Pyre, I run into what is the most random boss battle in the game, the Crew Rep, who leads with a Ninjask. Against my Ninetales, I set up the Sun, switching out into Optimus, and Hebaton passes out into a Marowak who comes in on a Heat Crash, taking a bunch of damage. I swap out into Shaco, surviving a Bone Meringue, going for a Burning Bulwark next turn, and letting the Marowak go down to its burn. Ninjask comes back out, losing some speed to Gooey and some health to Rocky Helmet. Yeah, that strategy on multi-hitters is so satisfying. I heal up with a Milk Drink, the Ninjask goes for a Fury Cutter again, and takes itself out. Burret comes out next, and I Bulwark up, but it agilities instead. So I go for the Double Protect, managing to get it, having its attack before taking a knockoff. Sadly losing my Rocky Helmet and going for a Blazing Torque. My Ice Cream goes down to a Fire Punch, and I bring out Darmanitan, U-turning out into Alphabet, getting the Furry kill, and coming in against a Crobat, which Mega Evolves. So I go Optimus, doing a little bit with a Heat Crash, but tanking its Shadow Fangs. 3 more Heat Crashes finishes the job. Audit comes in next. I go Ninetales to soften its Scald, bringing Alphabet back out to set the Mist. Then go Weird, surviving a Moonblast, doing a bunch of damage with a Sheer Cold, even managing to get a Frostbite on it. But I miss my second Sheer Cold, going down to a Scald, so I bring Darmanitan out, hitting a Molten Strike, surviving a Scald, then hard swapping Ninetales, to finish it off with a Solar Beam. Tyrantula is the Crew Rep's last mon. I do a little bit with a Flame Burst, before going down to Thunder Cage, going Darm again, getting taken out by its priority, getting a Burn with Flame Body, going Optimus on a Giga Drain, winning the battle with a Heat Crash. Pushing further on, past some Team Aqua Grunts, I run into Admin Matt. He kicks things off with a Volcanion, and I lead Dilo, setting up the Sun, but losing the Weather Ward to his Drizzle. Swapping out, avoid the water attack, going for an Air Slash, flinching it with Rainbow Pledge, over, and over, and over, until it just dies. Weavile comes in next, and I lose my Rocky Helmet to a knockoff, going for a Popping Mayhem, but getting frostbitten in the process. He then brings out a Kilowattrel, going for a Hurricane, taking down my Popcorn, so I bring Misty out, hitting a Priority Eruption, but it has a Focus Sash. Thankfully it goes for a 2-turn move, and I can Eruption again, getting the most overkill in history, as he goes into a Mega Inteleon, who also gets one-shotted, bringing out a Mega Gallade Redux. So I go Stallion, hitting a shocking jab, getting a speed boost as he brings in a scissor, but I swap out in a Dilo, so I can set the sun up, making my next fire attack stronger because I wasn't going to one-shot, melting it with a Smolder Bash, winning the battle, where you would normally be done. But now, there's a new conversation with Archie, and a battle, which he leads with a Zapdos, winning the Weather War against Dilo again, just like Matt did. So I do a little bit of swapping around to get the sun up, going for a Fire Blast, taking a Wild Bolt Storm, going into Stallion, and finishing it with a Smolder Bash, but getting paralyzed. Speed Boost mitigates it a little bit, and he brings in a Sharpedo, which Mega Evolves. So I swap into Schlee, taking way more than I thought from an Aquafang, doing a little bit of Rocky Helmet chip at least. My Popcorn goes down, and I go into Zoidberg, who's also outsped surprisingly. So I go Alphabet this time, with nothing better against the water type attacks. But he goes Crunch. Going down to a Decorate, going into a Plunder Toe. It finishes Alphabet with a Poltergeist. So I bring Misty in, hitting an Eruption. Of course one-shotting with 3000 damage. He then goes Garchomp Redux, Mega Evolving, but it isn't strong enough to stand up to my priority. Wo-Chien comes out, getting absolutely destroyed. And likewise, Hisuian Gudra takes a bunch too. Going for a Dragon Pulse, landing a second one. Eventually taking Misty out, so I go Stallion, winning the battle with a Smolder Bash. Thankfully that thing is so slow. Old people reprimand Archie, he pieces out, and they give me the Magma Emblem. So I can take the fight to Maxie next, who I find dangerously close to lava for I'm pretty sure the second time. I'm not sure what's up with this guy. He uses the red orb to call his dinosaur out of a volcano, leading with a Naganadel against Isagi, setting up sticky webs, and I court change him away. Going for a Sucker Punch, going down to us away from it, but I literally just brought Cinderace along to court change the sticky webs, so it's fine. I bring in Dilo and Dragon Pulse, and he brings in Groudon, Primal Reverting, and V-Creating, taking Dilo out. So I go Weird, and Sheer Gold, taking out his Legendary, but he's got another one in his back pocket. It gets Sheer Golded too, though. This battle sure is a lot easier when the sticky webs aren't on my side. Redux Skarmory comes in, going down to a Hydro Steam, and he brings out his Camerupt, Mega Evolving it, getting Hydro Steamed in the face too. His last mon is a Venusaur, which gets Hurricaned. Following his escape, one of his grunts come in, taking me to Slateport, where me and Captain Stern watch Archie and Matt steal his submarine. I chase them over to their base in Lilycove City, and after running through a few grunts, I make it to the end where Matt's waiting for me. He leads the battle with his Volcanion once again, and I lead with Stallion, going for a shocking jab, one-shotting his lead Legendary, getting a speed boost, but it's still not enough to go faster than his Barraskewda, who survives a shocking jab but goes down to burn. Blastoise comes in next, Mega Evolving to Blastoise X, taking about half and getting paralyzed before taking Stallion down with a Spike Cannon. I go Schlee and Bullet Seed. Kilowattrel comes in next. I go Dilo. It misses its attack, going for an Electro Shot next turn, getting Fire Blasted, going down to a Focus Sash. I then swap out back to Schlee, sacrificing him to the Electro Shot so I can get Weird in, and Sheer Cold after its Air Blower goes away. He brings out his Redux Gallade, Mega Evolving it. It gets Freeze Dried, and Matt reveals that he was just stalling so Archie can get away. Put that on pause for a second, because I've got a gym battle against the Psychic Twins Tate and Liza over in Moss Deep City to do. They lead with a Tapu Lele and a Renucleus, setting up Twisted Dimensions, Psychic Terrain, and Inverse Room. I set up Stealth Rocks and Submission, one-shotting the Tapu Lele. A Drampa comes in, getting a special defense boost, but it's one-shotted by Inferno from Camerupt, who triggers an Eruption as well, doing a little bit to the Renucleus, which thunders, getting a Paralysis that only makes Camerupt faster. Calyrex comes out, as well as a Slowbro, that they Mega Evolve. I go for a Solar Beam, getting taken out by a Mystic Barrage from the Calyrex before I can fire it off. One-shotting the Slowbro with a Flare Blitz, I go into my Sunflora to set up Grassy Terrain, but they send in a Slowking, and Mega Evolving it. It turns it Psychic again. Hornleech takes my Emboar down, so I send Chaco out, swapping my Sunflora for Misty, as the Slowking Calm Minds. Misty survives a Psychic, and hits a Steam Eruption on the Calyrex, as I go for a Blazing Torque into the Slowking, having them down to a one-sided match now. I bring in Rouge, and finish off Slowking with an Expanding Force, getting my Mind Badge. Shortly after that, Team Magma starts making some trouble over at the space station, so I head on over there. The first guy leads with a Rotom, and I lead with my Mega Hisuian Typhlosion, one-shotting it as he goes into a Fanfernal. I can't use my move a second time, so I swap out into Alphabet, going for an Air Slash, eating up its Shadow Balls, After a couple air slashes, I take it out, and a Senna Scorch comes in. It Mega Evolves, and I swap out into Kilauea, reviving its attack, and hitting Inferno, burning through the first grunt. Moving on to the next, who leads with Hippowdon, which sets up Sand. So anticipating a ground attack, I swap out into my Levitator, but it goes for a Crunch. I hit an Excalibur, doing respectable damage, before an Aquafang takes down my bird, and I go Chaco, going for Burning Bulwark and getting a burn, then finishing it with a Mountain Gale. Sandaconda comes in next, and it Mega Evolves, going for a Focus Blast, but I protect, swapping out into Kilauea again, stacking her to the Scorching Sands, so I can get a clean switch into Misty, and hit Priority Eruption. He then sends out an Alolan Dugtrio, so I swap into Chaco, slowing it with Gooey, having it with Rocky Helmet, then finishing it off, I move on to the next guy, whose Garbodor Mega Evolves right away, getting destroyed by a Blast Burn. He sends out a Glamora next, and I Spectral Serenade, but it has 30, hitting Deadlight with a Meteor Beam, so I go Misty, getting Meteor Beamed again, putting me in a very bad position. But I can leverage Sea of Fire here, leaving him with just a Beedrill, who gets slowed by Gooey. And amazingly, Chaco lives on too, getting off a burn with Burning Bulwark, leaving the Beedrill totally crippled, for Alphabet to Fiery Dance on him. Allowing me to proceed to the real fight, a double battle with Steven Stone as my partner, against Leader Maxie and Admin Courtney. Steve decides to bring a bunch of Steel types against Fire type guys for some reason, but hey, at least he's trying. Maxie and Courtney kick things off with Raging Bolt and Groudon, who immediately Primal reverts, so I go for Powder Snow with Weird, frostbiting both of the Mons. Groudon V-creates into Aggron, and that goes exactly how you'd expect it to. I tank an extra sensory from the Raging Bolt. Then Steve sends out his Metagross. I swap out into Kilauea. Metagross brings down the Groudon, and Maxie then sends out a Reshiram, who blue flares the Metagross. As I set up Stealth Rocks, Effect comes out, getting Thunderclapped. I UI bugs out, making our health bars disappear. I Soil Drain the Reshiram. Marie Redux comes in, Mega Evolving, going for an Aerial Ace, as the crippled Raging Bolt continues to do nothing. Finally being taken out, Courtney then sends in Nucleus Redux, hitting a Steam Eruption on my Camerupt. So I send in Alphabet, and Air Slash, getting a flinch, and another, until the Renucleus is dead. Charizard comes in, tripping on the rocks, Mega Evolving to Y, and we have an Air Slash off, win. Send in Maxie and Courtney packing. I then get Dive from Steve. Following that, I head to the Seafloor Cavern, and just as I'm about to secure Kyogre, Archie comes on in, brandishing the Blue Orb, taking Kyogre for himself, initiating a fight, which he leads with his Raikou, setting up the Rain and Electric Terrain, going for a Weather Ball into Dilo, who makes it sunny, taking the Raikou out with a Fire Blast. Kyogre comes in next, Primal reverting, making it rain again, and I swap Misty on an Origin Pulse, taking a Wild Bolt Storm right to the face. So I send Smolder out and Extreme Speed, doing about half, before being Origin Pulsed, so I go Dilo again, hitting a Thunder. He then goes into a Sharpedo, taking Dilo out with a Crunch after Mega Evolving, so I send Weird out and Sheer Cold. Garchomp Redux comes out, and Mega Evolves, being put down by a Sheer Cold as well, sending Archie into an Iron Moth, who gets obliterated by a Hydro Steam. Wo-Chien comes out next, being burnt down by a Fire Blast, surviving on one, and getting taken out by the triggered Ice Beam. The cavern starts to collapse, Maxie comes in, and the two evil teams realize that perhaps messing with primordial deities wasn't a good idea. They decide they want to do something about it, heading off to Sootopolis, so I head over too, and we witness Groudon and Kyogre fighting, causing a huge ruckus that's so loud it wakes Rayquaza up in space. He has to come down from the sky to tell them go home. Deus Ex Machina aside, I proceed to the final gym, and whoo-wee, what a final gym it was. This 12v6 battle with One and Wallace took me legitimately 3 hours. Shout out to John Monotype, who hung out in voice chat with me pretty much the whole time, and Cook Strats until we finally got there. They lead with a Suicune and Torrentula. I lead with my Megascovillain Takis, as well as Misty the Redux Renucleus, hitting a Steam Eruption into the Suicune, swapping out into Alphabet, taking nothing from a Hurricane but becoming confused, setting Mist when the Torrentula tries to triple dive. I take the Suicune out, and a Manaphy comes in. It goes for a Tail Glow. Alphabet hits herself and then gets hit by a Fury Cutter, and I Steam Eruption the Manaphy, blowing it away. Greninja comes in next, Mega Evolving, hitting a Dark Pulse. Alphabet lands an Air Slash, flinching the Tarantula. Steam Eruption takes Greninja down. Now I can just focus on one side. Air Slashing and Steam Eruptioning down the Spider. They go into Redux Nucleus next. And I flinch it before taking it down with another Steam Eruption. Sending them into Urshifu, who Mega Evolves, missing its attack, getting obliterated, giving me a perfect first battle, so that I can go into the second one with all 6 Mons. They lead with Kyogre and Palkia, both Primal Revert, getting their special attack halved by Takis, who protects as Misty gets one-shotted by Kyogre. I bring Weird in, getting hit by a Spatial Rend, surviving on 1, and hitting Palkia with a Sheer Cold, taking it down. I Leech Seed up on the Kyogre, going into Smolder as they bring in Chomp. It Mega Evolves, they Hard Swap the Kyogre out, I protect with Takis, and Extreme Speed the Garchomp, taking it down with a second. They bring in a Xurkitree, and I bring out Schlee. I Extreme Speed the Xurkitree, peck Golisopod, but it just barely hangs on, almost taking down Smolder with a Razor Shell. It gets burned, going down and sending them back into Kyogre. I Extreme Speed to finish off the Xurkitree, going for a Victory Dance with Schlee, being taken down to Focus Sash by an Origin Pulse. Bullet Seed the Kyogre, now they just have a Swampert, which Mega Evolves. Ice Punching Alphabet, who doesn't get the flinch for like the first time ever, taking it down with a 3rd Air Slash. I can't even believe I won. With all of my badges, I head on over to Evergrande City, preparing to enter Victory Road, but before I can do that, there's one last battle in the way, with my boy Wally leading with an Urshifu. I lead with Fertile to set up the sun, using his Rocky Helmet to do a ton of damage to the multi-hitter. Dewey and Arcanine comes in next, Mega Evolving, and going for a Head Smash, which doesn't even do half to my Tortemple. I counter with an Earth Power, bringing it down, and he sends in a Selvali, which multi-attacks, and even that can't break Tortemple, so I yawn that, and it finishes me with Liquidation. Dorm comes in, hitting a Superpower, then Latios follows, Mega Evolving, so I swap out an Alphabet, tanking a Thunderbolt, then another before hitting a Moonblast. The Latios continues hitting Thunderbolts as I cripple its special attack, allowing me to survive long enough to take it out. Wally then brings out Iron Valiant, who also doesn't take Alphabet down, and I get off a Moonblast, breaking its ability. Then go Echo, wearing it down a little bit with Flame Coat, surviving a Psycho Boost, hitting a Play Rough on it. Wally's last Pokemon is then Shaman. I protect again to chip with Flame Coat, and hit a Fire-type Extreme Speed, bringing down his Legendary, getting me into the cave. And after making my way through that cave, I find none other than our old pal Calvin waiting for me at the end. He leads with his Dugong Kecleon fusion, and I lead Kilauea, setting up Stealth Rocks, going out into Hephaestus, taking a Flash Freeze, which drops my special attack unfortunately. I go Magma Storm, trapping Calvin's Pokemon in, and doing some damage over time. It's super effective, as I have Molten Down, and his Pokemon transforms into a Rock type when you use a Fire attack. He spams Growls for a while, not doing very much, and the two bulky boys exchange blows for what feels like forever, till eventually my Magma Storm Dot gets the kill, and then brings out a Wobbuffet, which Mirror Coats, bringing down Hephaestus. So I go Kilauea again, getting the sun back up, and he hard swaps into a Skullburst on a Searing Shot. Bad move, Calvin. He sends a Smeargle out, putting Kilauea to sleep. But her job was pretty much just to set Sun and Stealth Rock, so I'm okay with that. It Shell Smashes, but Echo has Extreme Speed. Calvin then sends out a Tinkaton, which too gets taken out by a Fire Extreme Speed. His Shedinja dies to Stealth Rocks. Wobbuffet comes in, bringing Echo down with a counter, and I send Weird out, Fire Blasting, taking damage from its innards out, but winning the battle. And with that out of the way, I'm finally there. Me and my last 6 Pokemon head in to face the Dark-type Master, Sydney, the first of the Elite Four. He leads with Redux Alakazam, and everybody knows this trick by now. You just start with a Rocky Helmet guy, and his 6-hit Scratch does more damage to him than it does you. It tries to Mega Evolve by Burning Bulwark, and it goes down to Sea of Fire. He sends in Darkrai, hitting Choco to sleep, going for a Dark Pulse, getting burned in the process as I swap. Tanking his Dark Pulse is no problem, hitting back with a Moonblast. Blast takes Darkrai down, and Urshifu comes out, Mega Evolving too. So I go back to Choco, getting taken out by a high jump kick, but slowing it down, going into Dilo then, and ripping it up with a Thunder. And Gambit comes out, Choice Locked, so I just Thunder that too. Getting obliterated by a Last Respects, going into Deadlight. Who gets Sucker Punched, but places a Curse. Sunny can come in and clean up. Her Ninja comes out then, also Mega Evolving. So I swap into Alphabet, I absorb the Water attack, and tank its Dark Pulses, hitting a Moonblast, one-shotting it. The last Pokemon is Yveltal. Rather than swapping, just stay in and spam Moonblast. As it hits baddie bads, moving on to the second member of the Elite Four, Ghost Trainer, Phoebe. She leads with Giratina against Choco. I protect to do some Sea of Fire chip, getting obliterated by an ominous wind, hitting back with a mountain gale before going down to a shadow ball, sending out Dilo to make it sunny, hitting a dragon pulse, taking out Giratina. Here a death comes in, and it mega evolves to the X version, so I swap Alphabet to try to resist its fire attack, but it hits Last Respects instead. A second Last Respects takes my bird down, and I send Sunny in, hitting a Rock-type double edge. Houndoom Redux comes out, mega evolving, getting double edge too, putting a curse on Sunny. Veramosa comes in, so I swap out into Deadlight, making it its triple kick, but it has a Dark-type axe kick, and destroys my ghost. So I go Dilo, it misses its kick, takes a bunch of damage, and is taken out by a Thunder. Marshadow comes in, getting one-shotted by Thunder, but it has a Focus Sash, triple kicking Dilo, so I go Sunny to clean it up with a double edge, and Phoebe is left with Necrozma, taking Sunny out with a Prismatic Laser, so I go into Mayday. Surviving a Moongeist Beam, I Mystic Dance, triggering Revelation Dance, then take it down with a Fiery Dance. That is a lot of dancing. Ice Master Glacia, third member of the Elite Four, is next. She starts off with a Lapras, making it Hail, and Mega Evolving to Lapras Y, getting hit by a Blazing Torque, but taking particularly nothing, hitting a Sparkling Aria on Chaco. I swap out into Alphabet, absorbing its next Sparkling Aria, and start Fiery Dancing to raise my special attack. Hit Thunderbolts, but my girl's bulky, and we go back and forth like this for a while. Eventually, I Air Slash to bring it down, and Glacia goes into a Chen Pao. So I swap Chaco, anticipating a contact move, but it Bleak Wind Storms. I get the burn off anyway, going into Dilo, getting crunched, but hitting a Fire Blast. Dugong comes out next, Mega Evolving, so I swap into Alphabet, avoiding the ground attack, but being taken out by a Lovely Bite. Going back round to Dilo, Fire Blasting again, getting taken out by a Drill Run. Going into Deadlight, and Blast Burning, but it just barely hangs on, so I take it down with a Spectral Serenade next turn. Articuno comes in next and Mega Evolves, getting Deadlight out with an Aeroblast, so I go into Sunny, bring it down with Double Edge. Glacia then sends out a Kyurem, who gets one-shotted by Double Edge too. Beedrill Redux comes out, not getting one-shotted because of a Focus Sash, but it gets burned on contact. So after its turn's over, that's a wrap. Just 2 more fights left in the game, the first of which is against Dragon Master Drake. The old man kicks things off with a Dialga, which Primal reverts, getting hit by a Fire Blast from Dilo, going down in one shot. Raiden comes out next, bringing my boy down with the Draconic Fangs, so I go into Mayday, surviving a Collision Course, and Mystic Dancing, triggering Revelation Dance for a bit of chip before the process repeats itself. I tank a third Collision Course, then Dazzling Gleam, bringing Raiden down, as Drake goes Rayquaza. It Mega Evolves, taking Mayday out with a Dragon Ascent. So I go into Chaco, going for Burning Bulwark, crippling its attack, doing some Rocky Helmet damage, and slowing it with Gooey. I stall out, doing more chip, finishing it with Rocky Helmet, then healing up with Milk Drink. Drake then sends out an Eternatus, so I go Alphabet, coming in on a Searing Shot, which does nothing. It tries to Eterna Beam, but I tank it and Air Slash, as it Sludge Bombs, managing to get the poison. I Air Slash again, almost being taken out by another Sludge Bomb, going into Deadlight, and finishing it with Spectral Serenade. Kyurem Black comes out, hitting a Bolt Strike, getting Blast Burned, taking Deadlight down, but getting cursed. So I go Chaco, and use Burning Bulwark to stall it out, leaving Drake with a Redux Scissor, which Mega Evolves, going for a Sludge Bomb, bringing down my Ice Cream, leaving me with Sunny, whose Seismic Slams, winning the wall. Now, for the last battle, one final fight with Steven Stone, and I am so ready. He leads with a Mewtwo, and I lead Dilo, setting up the Sun, as he Mega Evolves, but it is no matter, and I obliterate it with a Fire Blast. Zacian comes out, trying to look all cool, but it gets Fire Blasted too. He then tries Metagross, Mega Evolving his Ace, but it gets melted. Heatran comes out, and that does stop the Fire Blast sweep, so I go Alphabet. We have a Hydro Steam fight, hitting each other back and forth. Of course, Alphabet comes out on top. He then sends in a Mega Kartana, I go Chaco, and even though it hits through Protect, I still do a bunch with my Rocky Helmet, tripling its speed with Gooey. Going into Deadlight, I finish it with Spectral Serenade. Steve then sends out a Zamazenta, which I Blast Burn, It goes for a double Iron Bash, and I Spectral Serenade, but it still survives. Double Iron Bashing again, before being Blast Burned a second time, earning me the title of champion once again. And I'll take this time to thank everybody I usually do, including James, all the other devs, alpha testers, concept creators, etc, etc. Also really like to shout out That One Gamer, undisputed doubles champion of Elite Redux, for hanging out with me in voice chat for most of this playthrough. John Monotype again for helping me with Juan and Wallace. And of course my boy Ryan the Flygon. I'll see you guys soon for Mono Dragon. Token Deathmage, out.